Hey, what's up? It's your boy BobbySapphire, bringing you my tournament report from my 1K victory at the Tabletop Gaming Center in Newington, Connecticut. I won $420.69, and this insane lightsaber. I don't know how to use it super well. Sometimes it wants to yell at me in Star Wars quotes instead of powering up.
I've been waiting for this day for a long time.
There's like 30 quotes in here. Cool. There we go. Lights up purple, lights up blue, lights up pink. Make Star Wars noises. Anyway, let's talk about the tournament. All right, the Tabletop Gaming Center in Newington, Connecticut. They posted this a while ago. Even before this one, I think we knew about. Even before the date of this post, we knew about it. I've had it circled for a while. It was going to be the first big event local to me. This shop is about an hour south of me in Connecticut. I've been there for multiple Destiny regionals and always had a great time. Always did well. The store is great, so I was really excited for this. And then, of course. Um, Even before I thought about going to the Florida 5K, it was just like, okay, here we go. Cash tournaments, they're here. I probably talked about it on the podcast like 3 months ago. So I was really excited to do that. I was hoping that it would be a lot of competition. We ended up getting 60 players at the event, and uh, it was a really diverse meta. So I was really excited to see all the Leias, Sabines, Bobas, Hans, uh, Palps, Idens, Vader. Not, I wasn't so excited to see the Vaders, but I expected them to be there. Yeah, so all in all, they actually ended up adjusting this because of so many people, and they paid out to the top 16. I'll have the payouts, the full payouts later on in the video. And honestly, we had a blast. I drove down there with my brother Maddie and our buddy Nick, who's local to us. There were tons of people in the KTO Discord there. You could see this video of us, this picture of us hanging out outside. They had these picnic tables outside in the shade. It was amazing. It was like a 55-degree day, 60-degree day. We just chill out in the shade and have a great time in between rounds. A couple action shots of me playing, talking to my buddy Zach, who came down. All in all, it was just great seeing old friends, like all the people from Destiny that in X-Wing that came up and talked to me and said, hey, all the people in our Discord that came up and said, hey, it was great. And it's just like, it just felt like we were back playing among the locals again. So I had a blast, and the event was super well run. It started like right at 11:15. I never expect anything to start like right on time. We did open deck lists throughout Swiss, which was wild. But they let us know ahead of time, or they let me know ahead of time, and I kind of spread the information. Um, so we all had our deck lists in our back pockets, and they had deck lists, and yeah, it was 60 people. It was 6 rounds, cut to top 8. All right, if you've watched our content before, you might have seen this slide. I used this slide in my 5K tournament report from a couple weeks ago. And when I made that video, I don't know if I said it in it, but where I wanted to be and why I included it in the aggro tempo section was because I really thought that coming out of that event, I wanted to be on Cunning Boba Fett. I wanted to play Cunning for 4 as many times as possible over the course of a tournament. I still think that this is basically how it is. Um, I played against the soft control deck of Red Green Vader in the finals. I think the biggest surprise here has been that Palpatine has actually found a place in the meta, and even though in my video I had said that like I think Palp, doesn't really have a place, or his place is more nebulous, he is winning against still all those control decks. So he still seems to be the king of control. Maybe not always against the control Vader deck, but I don't really know how that matchup goes. I've just heard of Palps winning against all these control decks. So if you remember that, or if you didn't check it out, the thing that I liked about this slide is that you could expect to win the 2 matchups to your left. But what happened over the course of the last 2 weeks with me testing Cunning Boba Fett is I was actually still winning all of the mid-range matches as well. And then the soft control decks were the hardest, but I was still able to manage to win those. And then spoilers for the rest of the tournament, but I played against Green Vader in the finals, and I won. It wasn't easy, but it's possible. So I love the aggro tempo slot. but its hardest matchups should be the ones to the right. And I went through Han, I went through Green Boba Fett in the course of my event, and the matches weren't super close, even though they did things like ramp and play bigger units. I know my teammate Wu played a red chariot list, also from where I consider this aggro tempo pole, or like pillar rather pole. And he lost in his finals after not dropping a single game all day to Green Boba, which is like, he was beating me when I was playing Green Boba against him, so I thought he'd be good. But obviously, Green Boba still has really strong plays and units and events. And just like I beat the Green Vader, which is something I would have considered difficult. Sometimes a match gets you, and I would expect a lot of Chariot players to lose to Green Boba players. But I thought Wu had that matchup figured out. Obviously, you can't win them all. So anyway, that's how I figured out what I wanted to play. I wanted to be on Cunning Boba Fett. I thought Cunning was completely cracked. Like, if people are paying 6 for Vigilance and, like, Cunning's better than Vigilance, like, why aren't we paying 4 for Cunning? So that's where my head was at. So I got to work testing, and this is what I came up with. Here's where I ended up on my list. If I don't I know that going all three ofs and one two of is like the way to build a list. Like, mathematically, it's going to be the most consistent, but I hate doing it, and I did it this weekend. Everything's pretty standard. I mean, it's mono yellow in a one set, environment. So we're just playing all the good yellow cards. The biggest decision point I had with the deck was, do I main deck 2 Swoop Racers or 2 Jabbas? And the reason why I went with Swoop Racers is because I thought the control decks would be the hardest decks for me to win. If they stabilize, like, they can just shut you down. And what I really wanted to do was use my things like Shoot First and Waylay, or Boba Fett unit to kill something early, get the untap with Boba Leader, and play like a Swoop Racer and something else. So really try and push the board in those, like Swoop Racer plus Greedo, Swoop Racer plus Crafty. Things like that. Tapping down something with Cartel, killing it with Boba, untapping, playing Swoop Racer. I wanted to be able to go wide as much as I could against those control decks, and it's what I was able to do to battle back in the finals with some really wide strategies. Everything else is pretty standard, like 3 Greedo, 3 Shoot First. I had tested Snapshot Reflexes for a while, but in the end wanted to go with Shoot First once the Jabbas started coming in and out of the main deck. 3 Cartel Spacers was a huge role player all weekend. No Good to Me Dead, great against Boba, great against Han, Crafty, standard, Surprise Strike, standard. All this stuff is standard. I guess, like, what should I talk about? Cunning. Card is cracked. It's insane. On the 5 resource turn, you can play it twice and completely win the game just on that turn. Gamos, as they were great for me in Florida, ran them again. 5 drops, that's a tough call. I had tested Syndicate Lackeys a ton, and I was going to play them completely over Bosks. Here's why I didn't. I was playing against Sabine decks, and I was like, sick, I have Lackey, kill your Sabine. Take 2 back, this thing lives. And then I didn't get to untap any resources with Boba Fett because the leader doesn't leave play when you kill it. And then so I would just spend my whole turn only playing a 5 drop, which is just not what Boba Fett wants to do. So what I started doing was putting the Bosks back in and then trying to trade down and not really worrying as much about Sabine to kill her first action. We can get hammered with a Steadfast Battalion, obviously. So there are situations where, like, yeah, I would love to kill Sabine right away. But for the most part, if I was trying to have an explosive turn and race them out, I wanted to kill something and untap. And that's why I ended up going with the Bosks. Cantina Bouncer are just too good at enabling the flip turn having fully 8 resources. If you heard me talk about Waylay last week, Cantina Bouncer does that with also letting you play a 3 drop. So all in all, the main deck was super tight. Ended up boarding very little. I would bring in Confiscates when I saw Traitorous or Entrenched. I would bring in Jabba most matchups when I could identify 1 to 2 cards that I did not need. If I didn't need Waylays or No Good to Me Deads or Shoot Firsts, those were when the Jabbas came in. Even if I'm lowering my trick count, the 8 health ended up being really big. And then the Change of Hearts, I once in a while brought in 1. I don't think I ever brought in 2. Maybe in the finals, game 3, I brought in the second one. But, like, I really want to keep the curve low. And if I'm trying to miracle Change of Heart, chances are the game has gone badly anyway, so I would rather just keep aggroing them out. And I want to say the thing that really cracked this list for me was that I started playing it straight up as an aggro list, and trying to burn them down as soon as possible. And every time I saw a 25 HP base on the other side of the table for me, I felt really, really comfortable. And just like when I have turns, my opponents tap out, um, and I still have all my resources left, and they don't like stop me. I just immediately cunning for the +4, and combined with a second cunning or a surprise strike, like I'm hitting them for almost half their life total. I did swing for 21 in one turn um, this weekend. So like if you are gonna put your shields down, I'm going to hammer your hull. So that was how I looked at the deck. Just an absolute blitz aggro deck as soon as I could, doing as much damage as possible before Boba Fett comes out, but then once Boba Fett comes out, just really hit them so hard that like their next turn they realize that they're dead if they don't have a miracle play. And I'll talk about my matchups later, but I was doing this even though my opponents were like barraging 3 units off the table on turn 6 or the 6 resource turn. It didn't matter because I had already done so much damage. Everyone who was still alive after the barrage finished them off. All right, cunning is on there because like really the deck is just cunning. Like all I wanted to do was cunning and build a deck around it, and that's what I did. Here are how my rounds went. I played against Boba Green in the first round. I was able to put my money where my mouth was. I was like, I think the Boba Green matchup is fine. I played Chris Twig, owner of TopDeckTCG.com, where you can buy unlimited in Destiny singles. I don't know if he still sells Destiny, but maybe. He ramped, he barraged. I still was able to win just by flooding the board, having a better flip turn, and attacking to the face as much as possible. And again, the 25 points. Sabine Yellow also was on the 25-point base and was able to race it down after doing just a little bit of controlling to make sure. What I do in these aggro matchups is kind of like kill things advantageously where I'm not losing anything back to stop their damage rate from threatening my 30 HP life total, and then aggroing them out with Cunning when Boba comes out. Iden Green, I did drop. That was the first game I lost during Swiss. I mulliganed. I had no 2-drop. I had no 3-drop. My first play was on turn 3. It was Jabba, and he whiffed. So that's how that game went. That's why I lost. I played, so both those rounds were against KTOD subscribers too, which was cool. I then played against the 30-point Leia Red, and this game was a complete blowout. It was the 30-point base, and my units were just able to trade into all his units, and I was able to aggro him out. I mean, I don't even know. Yeah, I don't even think he got me to. Well, whatever. I'm not trying to beat a dead horse, but it was a good matchup, and I wasn't really threatened in my life total. Then my next one was Palt Blue. I was a little worried about this. It was Elijah. He's 18. I last saw him 6 years ago at the same shop where he played an absolute anti my deck choice in round 1 of a Destiny regional. I was able to take it from him probably because he was only 11 at the time, but because that matchup should have crushed me. But he was a little nervous, and I was able to 2-0 him. I, again, just aggroed him. But one thing that was notable about this matchup was he did have Entrenched, so I wanted to bring in some Confiscates. But I also decided out the Bosks and brought in the Syndicate Lackeys because I realized the Syndicate Lackeys would be absolutely insane against his Emperor's Royal Guards. And I almost punted game 1 by not killing, because I didn't kill Yularen, and it let him drop a Royal Guard. It was later in the game. It wasn't on 2 or anything, but I let him drop a Royal Guard, and I didn't have any way to kill it in one action, so it soaked 2 attacks and almost let him stabilize. But luckily, I was able to get there, but I definitely made a mistake there and realized how good Syndicate Lackey is against the Royal Guards. And then after being 5-0, my teammate Chrono, CJ, it's a Beam player, was also 5-0, and he smoked me. These were brutal games. I don't think I played as tightly as I had in the previous rounds because I was playing my teammate and we had already both locked top 8. But I wish I played it a little bit tighter because I think I might have been able to, I think I might have been able to steal one of the games, but he played great, and I consider him to be the best or one of the best Sabine Green players. Him and my teammate Justin have just been absolutely crushing it with that deck, and always on the sort of like forefront of how to innovate it each week. They do so much work in that regard that it's just become like a well-oiled machine in their hands. So can't be too upset with losing to a teammate. I finished 5-1, but I finished in fifth place despite starting 5-0. So I truly don't understand those tiebreakers. But what can you do? I really think it penalizes you for losing later in the tournament. In the top cut, I played against Paul, who is another K2D subscriber. He went 5-1 with Cassian yellow, which is insane. His deck was cool, but those small guys and Leia's, like, they delay you a little bit, but he couldn't push faster than my deck could push. So once I was able to get Boba Fett out and stabilize, it's just like his little guys didn't do a lot. And he's, these decks that are playing K2SO without ambush, without ECL, they just like play it for 4 and I bounce it, and then they wasted their whole turn. They got no value out of a card like K2SO. And then I'm able to really push the damage because I take it, like, I don't waste my turn to bounce it, right? Like, I get resources back and I can continue to push, which is what makes Boba so good into these red decks that don't have ECL, like the Sabine yellow, the Leia red, and the Cassian yellow, for example. So I won that one 2-0, and then I played against Ron Matos. So a little brother action there in Han Green, and basically the same deal. The beginning can be a little rough if they Han out like a big unit like the Falcon or Ezra. I'm actually much more afraid of Ezra because, like, what's the Falcon going to hit me 10 times and do 30 damage? Like, no, I just need to survive, like, them not flooding the board. So I really didn't want to see Ezra on turn 1 either game, and he didn't have Ezra turn 1 either game, which really allowed me to not get overrun by his board state. So I never was even in a spot where I had to stabilize. I could become the aggro player. Not that Han Green is like trying to aggro me out, but I do have to get off the back foot when they are able to ramp it to some really crazy board states. The Han Green games that I lose are the ones where they ramp with resupply and then Han, and then play him out, and then they're all of a sudden dropping a 7-cost Han on turn 3 or whatever, and I just can't come back from that because I'm so far down. And then in the finals, I played against Vader Green. This guy was crushing all day. He had one loss, I think, to Nick, one of our subscribers, the local guy that drove down with me on Yellow Sabine. He was talking all day about, like, just hoping to dodge Sabine decks, and he successfully did. I lost game 1. He was able to stabilize, and I couldn't close him out. And I don't know, games 2 and 3, I was able to put a lot of pressure on him, especially game 2 when I went first. I was able to put a lot of pressure on him, and he had to tap out to. That was the game he barraged like 5 of my things, and I just attacked with whatever was left. He killed another thing with the attack. I attacked one more thing. He claimed. I dropped the fire spray and attacked for 5. And then the other game was basically the same. He had a huge barrage. Actually, it was a couple lines of play. This actually game is really interesting if you're still listening to this. But in the final game, he passed and I bodied, or I attacked with a Boba Fett. He passed and I bodied, and he only had one card in hand that he could play that turn. It was open fire, and obviously he wasn't going to play it on Boba Fett because it didn't kill anything. I wouldn't have killed it. So I take the open fire. He has to claim he's got no other plays, but the rest of his hand was overwhelming barrage, Vader 7-drop, and reinforcement walker, which meant that, like, he was basically only going to get to play one more card the rest of the game. It was either Vader or barrage, and I knew I could just play around that. So what I did on the subs, what I did was when I got to untap. Actually, I don't remember the exact sequence of how I ended up untapping resources, if he had a unit out or whatever. But I was able to play Jabba, get a shoot first, and use that to pump for free for +1 on Boba Fett leader's attack. And then followed up the following turn with the fire spray after his barrage. So he barraged to, like, kill my little stuff, and I had Boba Fett, Jabba, and the fire spray. And then he Sorry, I'm trying to think. I don't want to mess it up. He attacked to kill Boba Fett, and like so, I had a 6 HP Jabba and a 6 HP Fire Spray going into his turn. So like I attack, he claims. He has to kill Jabba and the Fire Spray in one action, which that's 12 HP. He has to do that to. There's no card in his deck that can really do that. So he played something that killed the Fire Spray, I think like maybe a Strike True or something, and then I had the Surprise Strike to win with Jabba. So Jabba's 8 HP actually won me the game, and in addition to the one extra damage from Shoot First that I played for free on an earlier turn, because one of the things I like to do in these decks is like burn the pumps early so that if I draw them, I can play them again. Because it's not like you can pump, and then attack. You have to pump and attack at the same time with things like Shoot First and Surprise Strike. All right, here's the top 8 from the event. There's me and Chrono in the back there, teammates in the KTOD tournament team, and then we got 3 other KTOD subscribers in the top 8, Paul, Nick, and Ron over on the right side of the front row. So I had to redo this bracket from scratch because the bracket was all right. So there were 2 disqualifications. The first 8th place person got disqualified, and then the person that got replaced them got disqualified for deck list things that like wouldn't happen in a like an event where you didn't have open deck list. But we'll talk about it on the podcast next week. I'm not going to explain it here. Anyway, they messed up the bracket because things kept changing, and I think like they just didn't want to recreate the bracket the second time. So for whatever reason, even though the winner of me and Paul should have faced the winner of CJ and Tommy, they had us swap. They had the bracket wrong. I blame it on like gamers being indoor kids and maybe not knowing how the seating works. But either way, this is how the bracket actually played out. I beat the Cassian Yellow list, and then I beat the Han Green list, and then I played Vader Green in the finals. I did want to shout out that we had 5 of the 8 members of the KTOD Discord in this one, in this top 8. And then I've also had a survey going around for the weekend. I just checked the results of it. So far, there have been 25 winners of a 1K or store showdown in our Discord, which is pretty great. So I'm excited to shout out all the winners next week on the podcast. Yep, so there it is. I won the 420.69. We added that 69 cents earlier in the day. We were like, it can't be 420 without 69 cents. So we did that. There's actually, oh man, this doesn't have the 9 through 16. They did pay out cash to the 9 through 16 players, which was really cool. Won the lightsaber, and oh yeah, I wanted to take this time to just like shout out Sussy in the KTOD Discord and Mike Rudin from Unplayable, who both ran Mono Boba. Sussy ran the exact same main deck as me. I think Rudin was like 1 or 2 cards off. Both won events. I think store showdowns this weekend. Or Sussy won a 1K and Rudin won a store showdown. I also want to thank Poem from Late Night Gaming, Bounce, Blake, my former Destiny teammate, for both like just letting me bounce a couple ideas off them throughout the week as I tested. All my testing partners. Woo is the first person that ever showed me like how cracked this deck could be like many months ago. And then obviously like talking through things with my brother Maddie, Chrono, and Justin, all really, really helpful in my success. I don't take any credit alone. I can't do any of this stuff or win any of these games without the team that that we've built around this game. So huge shout out to the community for always giving me reps, asking things about the deck list. I love that because that lets me think about the deck list and answer questions that both help me and them. That's actually the reason why I do content or started content, because I was like, well, I want to get better, and what's the best way to do it? Like think about it, and like really process it. And that's what content creation lets me do for the game. And if you like you're thinking about doing content creation, I would say like that's a really big benefit to doing it. Shout out to Kenny, the judge there, handing me the lightsaber. He was a great judge and tournament organizer this weekend, so I was really thankful to him as well. And all in all, it didn't take me like 4 years to win an event like it did in Destiny. And I'm happy to have got one under my Millennium Falcon belt. All right, that's it from me. Hope you enjoyed the tournament report. Please hit me up in the comments or on Discord if you have any questions and you want to talk about the deck. May the 4th be with you.